Thank you, lady. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Film Section. I'm Chris.
And I'm Mark.
What is it? Is it 7 now? Is it 7?
Episode 7.
Oh, wow, we're more than halfway through this. I think we just got over the hump there.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Episode 7. We're doing House of the Devil. Personal favorite. I watch it I didn't even have to watch it today because I watched it for my annual Halloween viewing. I love it. I think the atmosphere of the movie fits Halloween pretty well. That's why I like it, but that's one of the big reasons I watch it, because it feels like a Halloween type movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
well, no, okay.
Okay.
So this was my first time ever watching this movie. Went in completely blind. I didn't watch any of the trailers. I didn't look up anything about the movie until I started watching it. And first off, kudos to this movie looking authentic as hell. This movie looks like it's actually filmed in the 80s.
Dude, you know, one of the coolest 80s shot in this movie to me was when they were in that pizzeria.
Yeah.
That's like to a T. That's an 80s pizzeria.
Even down to the camera movements and the angles and everything, it was, even costumes and stuff aside, it was the score, the way frames were positioned and everything, or the way shots were framed was I gotta be honest, I was fooled into thinking this was an 80s movie that just sat on the shelf for 30 years and then was finally released, because it looks authentic as hell.
Ty West. When
Mm-hmm.
Ty West is on his game, you get this. When Ty West is not on his game, you get Cabin Fever 2, which he disowns. He hates it. He
That's
disowns.
sad.
And good for him, because that movie is not good.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's written, directed, and edited by him is really cool. It's so strange because the movie starts off so much different than how I pictured it going.
Okay.
So the movie starts off with our main character, Samantha, who is about to rent this home or this apartment in the home or whatever. And she's talking to this woman, and this woman is super nice. And this woman's like, "Here, I'll knock off the security deposit. I just want you to move in here by the end of the week." And Samantha is super nice, has her little Walkman and everything, and is just enjoying life.
Yeah.
And so she gets this apartment, and as she's walking away, you get a still shot of Samantha walking, and then the title, "The House of the Devil," which is again so 80s. And that's early 80s. That is early 80s horror movie.
Dude, it fucking walking pause. Fucking straight up title sequence, dude. So well done. Very.
And watching it on my TV, seeing that this movie was actually shot on 16 millimeter, and so seeing it blown up like that, seeing the very natural grain and everything was really, really cool. So just kind of following Samantha, just going back to her dorm room. She's a college student.
Yep.
And she's about to go into her dorm room, but her roommate's having sex, so she decides, whatever, I'm just gonna walk around. And so she sees an ad on a bulletin board for a babysitting gig.
Mm-hmm.
And so she calls the guy who's offering the job, and on their first phone call is very strange. He seems very off. and so he says, "I'll meet you in front of some office on the college campus." And so Samantha goes there. She gets stood up. He never shows. So that's when, after that, we go to that the pizza place scene that you were talking about.
So fucking authentic, dude. The cups,
Oh yeah,
the Coke cups, dude. That was so good. That was so good. I think they. Oh no, they didn't. I was about to get excited about the red Pizza Hut cups, but we were just talking about the Coke cups, so it couldn't have happened.
yeah, no, but I mean, even just, I mean, the cars that they drive, like it's like a white '81 Volvo that they're
Yeah,
driving.
yeah,
Um, just so weird. So, anyways, Samantha is talking to her friend about how this guy that she was supposed to meet for the job never showed up. And her friend is like, "Well, you know what we should do? We should go around town or go around the campus and take off every single one of his flyers so that no one shows up and he doesn't get a babysitter."
yes. That'll show him.
Right? And so she's like, "No, don't do that." Kind of setting up that, like, Samantha's, a very, like, morally good person, and, has, like, good virtues and everything like that.
Right.
Um, and so, trying to think what happens next. She goes back to her dorm room, and then her roommate is like, "Hey, some guy called for you." Um, and so that's when she ends up calling the man again about the babysitting job. He apologizes. He's super weird on the phone. And so Samantha and her friend from the pizza shop go to this guy's house, which is like out almost in like just a very rural kind of area.
Yeah.
Or
It's
yeah,
like a real like. It's almost like a dirt road lined with trees situation.
yeah,
Yeah, they go deep. They go
um,
in.
yeah. And then they get to a very like wide open area next to a cemetery.
Mhm.
Um, and the house is this really old, like 1800s Victorian house. And so Samantha and her friend go into the house and the meet the man who she was talking to on the phone. I can't remember his name.
My boy, I don't remember his name in the movie, but I know it's Tom Noonan.
Yeah, that
Uh,
guy.
he was, I believe he was Buffalo Bill in Manhunter, which is like, it's one of those. It was made by Michael Mann, and it was like a precursor to Silence of the Lambs. It was kind of like Silence of the Lambs
Okay.
before they made Silence of the Lambs. Like it's based on the same thing. And Tom Noonan played Buffalo Bill in that. He did a really good job. He was also Frankenstein in the Monster Squad.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know
you
that.
could see it. Like I always thought like it was weird, but then you see it in this movie. He's real tall and like
Hmm.
wiry, so it worked. Yeah, this dude was weird as fuck on the phone, right? When he was like, oh, he was talking like he was distracted by something. Like
Yeah,
he'd pause, and it would be like a weird, awkward pause, and then go back to what he was saying, like he was preoccupied with something.
yeah. He always sounded very um, like teetering on like this edge of just like exploding kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, like he was like just barely keeping it together. And so the whole vibe between when he's talking to Samantha and he's like, "Actually, this isn't a babysitting job. You're here so that you can make sure my mother-in-law doesn't like injure herself."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, and so Samantha's like, "Well, that's weird. I don't really want to do this. I'm not a caretaker." And then that's when, what was his name again?
we'll call him Tom Noonan because we don't remember
Okay.
his fucking name.
Yeah. So that's when Tom Noonan is like, well, you don't actually have to like really do anything. You just got to make sure that nothing happens.
Yeah,
And
let's
I'll even double.
cash.
Yeah. He offers to pay her $400 to stay for 4 hours.
Yeah,
Um, and so even then, it's like you clearly know that something is up. And her friend is like, "Nope, fuck that. We're not staying. You and I both agreed that if it gets weird, we would leave.
Yep, yep.
And so that's when Samantha's like, it'll be fine, obviously. Um, and so that's when she tells her friend, like, pick me up at 12:30 and everything will be okay.
Right.
And so she goes back in, she talks to Tom Noonan, and is that Dee Wallace,
Yes.
his wife?
Yep. Oh wait,
Um,
no, his wife. His wife is Mary Warrenoff,
okay.
and like she was in a couple features like late 70s, 80s. I think she was in Rock and Roll High School Forever,
Okay.
or just Rock and Roll High School, the original one. Um, and then she was in one of my favorite movies. It's like a real fucking low budget independent comedy from like 1980, or Eating Raoul, which is fucking, it's just so funny, dude. And she always does movies with this guy Paul Bartel. Like if you saw those two, you'd be like, oh, I saw either one of them or both of them in a movie. Like she had her and that guy had a bit part in the beginning of what's that movie? Oh, Chopping Mall. Like they're always in like real like pretty solid B flicks and shit like that.
Hmm. But
Yeah,
I
she's yeah.
I saw in the credits that Dee Wallace was in it too. Who was she then?
Shit.
Was she the landlord?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
She was the
Okay.
one
So,
in the room to uh what's her name? Samantha.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Um,
was Wallace. Okay, now yeah. Because can't believe I don't remember because there's probably like 6 characters in this whole movie.
yeah, there's really not. Greta Gerwig is, I think that's Samantha's friend, and Greta
Yep.
Gerwig is like a huge like director now, like writer and director. I'm pretty sure she's doing well, she did Little Woman or Little Women like
Yeah.
2 years ago, which
Yeah.
was like a huge hit. She's doing a new movie now. I can't remember what it is, but anyways, so Samantha, reluctantly agrees to grandma sit, or old, you know, um, and so when her friend is driving away, she stops in the cemetery to smoke a cigarette, and this is when, and this is about like 36 minutes into the movie now.
Yep.
Um, she's trying to light a cigarette, and this rando just like comes up
Oh,
out of nowhere and offers her a lighter.
oh, you mean my boy, AJ Bowen? My boy, AJ motherfucking Bowen? I love this guy. I
He,
fucking love this guy in the mid 2000s, bro. Fucking love this
he, I mean, his introduction to the movie is definitely in like the top echelon of like character introductions, because this guy is just like, "Are you the babysitter?" And her friend is like, "No," and he just shoots her face off.
guy.
Like legitimately, her face is just
No
gone.
delay. No delay. It just did. He just did it. He didn't even hesitate.
Mm. And
Bang.
like that happened, and I paused the movie, and at
Uh,
that point, it was 37 minutes and 16 seconds in, and I was just
okay.
like, "What the fuck?" And so, because right then I was like, "All right, this movie is a lot different." But then after that, we get about almost 50 minutes of just Samantha walking around the house. And
Yo,
this is where I get a little bored.
we get one of my favorite scenes, which is the montage where you play "Psycho Killer" by fucking Talking Heads, dude. And I already like that song, but this movie, I love this song now. This is like a top song for me. "Psycho Killer" is a fucking amazing song, dude.
This part
Yeah,
of the movie for me
I get it. I
was
get it.
hard to watch because it's this thing of she's walking around, she's not really doing anything, she plays, she listens to her Walkman and she's dancing and everything,
Yeah.
and it's like you feel the tension kind of rising. um
What a weird
she
thing starts happening, right?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. So she goes to the bathroom, And while she's in the bathroom, audibly pissing, you hear something thud from like the attic.
Yeah.
And she opens the door, leaves, grabs a knife, and then is like, hello? And it's like, come on. Because even then, when she does that, you still have another like 25 to 30 minutes of her still walking around. She finally orders a pizza, and it's the guy who shot her friend's face off delivering the pizza. Um,
Yep. Yep.
which is which is cool. She when he delivers the pizza, she takes a 20 and just throws it at him, and then slams the door. And then she holds the pizza up to her chest like this, and I'm just like, why would you hold a pizza like that? That's the wrong way to hold a fucking pizza.
That's a messy fucking pizza now.
Yeah, like it's all gonna be like just on one side. There's gonna be
Why is she
sauce leaking
hugging?
out onto your pants because it's the
Why,
'80s, and you know that shit was flimsy.
why is she hugging the pizza?
Especially like it's gotta be hot too. Like you're like
This is okay. Now hear me out. This is crazy. This man rolled up, saw a girl. Are you the babysitter? Blew her face off. Then got back in the car and delivered a fucking pizza, bro.
well, like an hour later.
Yeah.
So what was this guy doing? This guy just shot her,
Clearly
went
he
back to the
didn't
pizza
plan for
shop, and just waited.
Clearly he didn't plan for this. He could have grabbed the pizza, saw the girl. I mean, that shit was quick. And then all he had to do was drive up the road. The pizza would have still been hot. But no, he fucking shot this girl's face off, goes back, waits. Wait, presumably he works there and he's waiting for her to order a pizza.
Well, Tom Noonan did. He mentioned getting the pizza
Oh,
three
he left the number
times.
for the pizza place.
Yeah,
The number for the pizza place is on the fridge.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess this guy was just
Okay.
waiting with a pizza.
Yep. Waiting for the call.
I mean, how many pizzas? Do you think it was just a one pizza and now it's just a cold pizza? Or do you
No,
think it's like an empty box?
I think they waited till she ordered. I'm sure he didn't go into work that morning and be like, okay, I gotta make this pizza right now. He had waited for the call.
But I mean, no, but like, I
I
mean,
mean, that took an hour.
what if
He had to go
he,
back and wait.
well, what if he didn't, I mean, we're saying this assuming that he worked at the actual pizza place. What if he just had a pizza and he was waiting somewhere else with like a landline? And that's why he kept mentioning, and that's why Tom Noonan kept
That
mentioning
would
the
be
number.
ridiculous. Tom Noonan was mentioning the pizza place because that guy fucking worked there. He's the delivery guy.
I don't know.
Why would he mention the pizza place and this random dude's just like, oh, I'm gonna go over there and grab pizza and take it over?
I guess. But she didn't even eat the pizza. She ruined the pizza, and then you don't even see. There's kind of a weird thing because after that one scene, you don't see the pizza box ever again.
No, no.
Pizza box is gone. So
This
I don't
is
know what happened to that.
I mean, I feel like they do pad the time a little bit with her just walking around, but like
Just a little bit.
her friend fucking bounced on her. Like, what the hell is she gonna do? Big ass house all alone. Like that. It's weird. It's hard to make that entertaining. Uh, but they did pad it a little bit with that. But then but as that went on, weird shit was happening. You're like, oh yeah, this chick's just walking around the house. But then like little shit would happen in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and,
But
and
progressively turning up, like
yeah,
going.
and so I mean, once she gets the pizza, we get she goes upstairs, and before she decides to go upstairs, she decides to go back downstairs, and then we see what's actually in the room, and it's three dead bodies. One of them's laying inside of a pentagram,
Yep.
and so
Shit.
again, yeah. So I'm like, okay, we're getting weird, and then another like 15 minutes goes by where she's just chilling, where she's like, what's going on? Everything's creepy.
There's some dead bodies. All right, I'm just gonna wait a little bit here.
Yeah. And then finally, she starts hearing like thuds and noises again. So she goes back upstairs and starts getting dizzy. Like before she opens the door, she starts getting dizzy, like gets all disoriented and passes out. So a long fade to black happens, and then once it finally comes back, we see her tied up, laying in a pentagram, in like a white sort of shroud thing, which is cool, you know.
We got fucking Satan's druids in this
Yeah,
bitch.
you know, we see Tom Noonan, we see his wife, we see their very disfigured mother,
Yep.
um, who like she looks like an orc from Lord of the Rings.
She does. You're absolutely correct.
Very much so. And and so the weird grandma starts like drawing a pentagram on her stomach in blood, on Samantha's stomach in blood.
Yeah.
Starts drawing blood stuff on her forehead, and then takes like a goat skull or something
Mhm.
and pours blood into it and pours it into Samantha's mouth.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Getting real freaking naughty.
right. so so Samantha like flips the fuck out and then gets herself free. Meanwhile, it's a little interesting at this point because as she's getting herself free, Tom Noonan, the wife, the pizza guy, and the grandma are all just kind of standing there, like watching her, like untie herself. I mean, those are knots. Like they tied her in knots, and she's just like, ugh.
I think that was like to they were like we don't have to do anything because she's not going anywhere. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like they like maybe that's fun for them. They're like, ha ha ha, look at her taking the nuts off. You know what I mean?
yeah, because at that point it was too late.
Because I don't think they were just standing there just like because they're idiots. I
I'm
feel like
gonna
they
be
were like, we've done what we had to do here. Fuck, take your little fucking ropes off. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's true. But like in the moment while I was watching it, I was like, all
Yeah,
right, like it's gonna take a little bit for her to. And then the other thing though is that if they weren't standing there like idiots, then when she started to run away, why did they chase her?
because it was too the whatever they did there with grandma with the fucking skull drinking blood and the fucking pentagram and blood and all that. That is whatever they needed to do. They accomplished. There was no, it didn't matter if she ran, bro.
Right.
Didn't. They're like, we got her. It's done. They got.
So so as she's running away, she has the knife again. And the pizza delivery guy like shoots her in like the shoulder or something.
Uh-huh.
Um and then she gets up, slices his throat, and this is where the movie gets very, very violent all of a sudden. Um, because after she slits his throat, she she runs back. Okay,
Here's your problem. I see. Here it comes.
when this started, right when she was tied up on the pentagram, she was in the basement.
Okay.
So she runs upstairs, runs past the front door, and goes up the stairs again, gets shot at by the pizza delivery guy, kills him, runs even higher up the stairs into the attic, and then Tom Noonan's wife is up there, and while Samantha is kind of just kind of down for a minute, like
Mm-hmm.
Tom Noonan's wife walks up to the window and just starts like speaking to her lord while like sun rays are or moon rays are beaming on her, and she's just super like, this is amazing. And then Samantha
They got
stabs her
her,
in the
bro.
back.
They got her, bro. Don't even. At this point, they're fucking Satan's drones, dude.
Yeah,
It's like when like in any vampire movie where they have like a fucking human familiar. Like I really call on What We Do in the Shadows for perfect reference. Is like they do what the fuck ever, man. Like they're
yeah,
fine. Like a motherfucker in What We Do in the Shadows is like, I'll do whatever because they promised me I'm gonna be a vampire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We get that way. She's like, I'll fucking die. We did it. We did it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So after she kills Tom Noonan's wife, she runs out of the house finally, and then Tom Noonan catches up with her in the cemetery, and he's like, "Hold on, just let me explain." Like,
Yo, chill.
yeah.
I know this was a lot. Let me talk to you.
Like, I got another $400. You like,
I got another 4 bills for you. Come on, just have Satan's baby. All right.
yeah, yeah. Like, it's okay. Like, So she's like, you know what? Puts the delivery man's gun up to her face, or up to her, like the side of her head, and Tom Noonan is like, wait, hold on.
I got 800.
Like, just chill out for a minute, and then she shoots herself.
Yep.
And then the very next scene is a hospital. And she's got, big bandages and stuff around her head. And the nurse comes in and is like, poor thing, you'll be okay. You both will. And then rubs her stomach. And so you know that this woman is about to give birth to the Antichrist, I'm assuming.
Come on.
And then it ends.
Come on. So good.
So
there are problems, but it's so good.
So that is House of the Devil, released in what was it, like 2009, 2010, something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the positives, because aesthetically, this movie is so, as I said earlier, it's so authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's crazy. Like, how believable it is that it seems like it's in the 80s, because it's not one of those like modern day movies that takes place in the 80s where it's just like nostalgic callbacks like every second. It just feels like a movie that was actually filmed in the 80s, which is really cool.
Yes.
The sound design, like the whole score, everything, perfect, amazing. I wouldn't change a thing. I love that it was filmed on 16 millimeter, because again, that just adds to everything. And me being the fucking like film snob that I am, I love that. Once the gore kicks in, it's crazy. Like, it gets so bloody so quick. And the acting is really good. Everyone is doing their part. I don't think anyone is kind of phoning it in. I mean, there's really not a big script. There's not a lot of dialogue in this movie. And so,
like a couple, like, what is there, like 6-7 characters, and like at least 2 of them are they're very short. Like Dee Wallace, she's just there to be like, hey, this is the apartment or whatever, and then her friend hangs out with her in the first like 10 minutes of the movie. Half hour in, she's gone. Like, and plus she wasn't on screen the whole time either. So it's the husband and wife, AJ Bowen and Jocelyn Donahue, that eat up the screen time. That's 4 people that, and you have to have some strong actors.
Oh yeah,
to be able to pull that off, eating that much screen time.
Oh yeah, and I mean, even though it does feel like it kind of is a little slow at some points. At no point was I ever bored. At no point was I ever just like, at no point did I go to my phone and just start like scrolling through Facebook or anything. Like, it kept my attention the whole time. So what were your positives? What are your positives about this movie? Because I know this is like your one of your favorites.
Definitely, definitely the way it looks, the camera work, the sound, the score, acting, everything that you said basically. Man, I was really happy that AJ Bowen showed up. That dude had a real short part, but he fucking worked it, bro. Like he seemed like one of those people who was trying to be like outwardly a funny guy, but he was like a darkly funny guy because he shot a woman in the face. He also tried like being darkly funny also came off as a pretty uncomfortable person.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You
That
thought
yeah.
Tom Noonan fucking destroyed that guy, really killed it
Oh yeah,
for
he was
what
definitely my
dialogue.
favorite.
He didn't have a lot of dialogue, but when he was on screen and when he was speaking, he had your attention. He
Oh
was
yeah.
great. I don't know, just the way it looked and sounded, just so amazing. It's one of the few slow burners that I like.
hmm
Um, a lot of times, the only thing that a slow burn suffers from is if it's not paying off at the end.
Yeah.
Because I always get invested into a slow burn movie, and then sometimes the end is just does not pay off well. Like I really just sat through that to get to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Oh
this
yeah.
paid off. I feel like this paid off for sure. And then it had that real like it had a real cheesy hokey kind of 80s ending. I mean it didn't look cheesy or hokey, but like the way a fucking
Yeah.
some of these 80s, 70s, 80s slashers or fucking satanic cult movies end, which was cool. I mean, they
hmm
kept the spirit. But
Um.
this is one of the most authentic films I've ever seen that's set in a different time with that kind of budget.
Oh
Because
yeah.
yes, we've obviously seen big name movies with Goodfellas, like Saving Private Ryan, anything set in a period, they've done really well. But this movie was $900,000, and I thought it was made in 1983, 84.
Yeah. Definitely. Um.
What didn't you like about this?
The first thing that I didn't like is in the very beginning of the movie. There's a quote about it's like in the 1980s there was a whole like 70% of people believed in like these like weird satanic rituals and demonic cults. 30% of them believed that they were just like government conspiracies. What you're about to see is based on true events. And so as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, well, that was horse shit. Like, what? What? Like, what?
You don't You don't remember Satanic Panic in the 80s? That was a
No,
big.
I understand satanic panic. I get that. But I think this movie would have benefited way more without that quote. Because because that quote to me then kind of sets up this expectation that you're about to get really invested into demonic lore and demonic cults and all this stuff, and you're going to deal with a
And
lot
the
of the
government.
satanic panic.
And the government.
Yeah, and sort of like a weird, maybe like social commentary sort of thing, which it's not. This movie isn't at all.
Nah, nah. I mean, I feel like that's a good idea for another movie, but it wasn't for this one.
Yeah, like it sets
Yeah,
up, and that's what I mean by sort of
it
this
doesn't
movie.
fit. It doesn't fit. I understand.
Yeah, because then after you get that quote, it starts off with Samantha about to rent the house, but then you never see the house again, and so there's a lot of I don't want to say like loose threads, but there's a lot of like inciting things just to make the plot move that don't necessarily need to be there. Like I
Okay,
understand wanting D what?
so that's fair.
Like I understand D Wallace being there because it's D Wallace and so you want her, but having that little bit with her about to rent the house just to basically be the inciting reason as to why she would want the babysitting job, it definitely feels a little tacked on because it's like you could have just said she's a struggling college student and it wouldn't have changed her reason for.
Yeah. I feel like the beginning they rushed pretty hard in the beginning. And then
Yeah,
they like they're like, okay, we're out of breath. Let's just take it slow now.
yeah,
So it's like bam, 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 this girl needs money for an apartment.
yeah. And so it's like I think you could have built up her friendship with the friend that ultimately gets her face shot off.
True.
um you kind of build up that friendship a little bit more. You kind of make us as like the audience sort of feel more of an impact of when her friend dies instead of just like holy shit that looks crazy.
Yeah. Because
um
really that's the reaction. You're not like, oh man, her friend.
yeah, which her friend was like the only her friend was smart and her friend was a great friend. Her friend was like, no, you need to not do this.
Tried to tell her, now she's in the hospital with bandages on her head.
Mm-hmm. um and so I mean that's really my only negatives, other than like it definitely feels like they're kind of padding the runtime a little bit just
Yeah,
to kind of get to that 90-minute mark.
that's definitely one of my cons is like a little bit of padding. Um yeah, like all the stuff you said, I mean, we're kind of nitpicking it.
I'm definitely nitpicking. I mean,
Which
I'm not going to
is
say
fine.
that the pizza box was one of my negatives, but
That's a perfect example of nitpicking.
yeah,
But like it's funny when you say it though. It's like, yeah, she did hold that shit like she was hugging it. Like it's crazy. Yeah, that I mean those are mostly my cons, is like little nitpicks like that for sure.
yeah.
What
I
do
mean,
you
it's
what do you rate it?
I I would still rate it probably like a 7.5. Um,
Okay.
it's definitely a movie that I think for me will reward a second viewing. Um,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Once
uh,
you know.
yeah, I think if I start the movie and I just completely ignore that quote and I kind of go into this movie knowing what to expect and everything, I think that I can kind of appreciate more of like the atmosphere that's really being set, because it is a very atmospheric movie. Like it wants you to feel like it's kind of like one of the movies that it kept bringing me to was When a Stranger Calls, the original one. Um, for some reason, it kept bringing me to that.
Okay.
Just again, in sort of
It
the
did
way
have
it was shot.
it did have that it yeah, the look a
Mm.
little, yeah, just the way the whole thing felt, yes.
Which I mean, When a Stranger Calls is such a good movie, so I was totally okay with that.
When a stranger, you mean if the movie was 15 minutes long?
No, I mean,
Dude,
wait,
that first like 15 minutes of that movie is some of the greatest fucking cinema I've ever seen in my life. And then it kind of does the same thing.
yeah,
It kind of tries to pad, which like I'm not saying it's not an awful movie, but man, they really set you up with that first 15 minutes, and it's some of the best shit I've ever seen in my life.
mm, no,
And then, I
definitely,
mean, it's still a good movie. It's just like it kind of like I think it blew its load like right there in the beginning.
yeah, yeah, because nothing really happens
Great,
for most of it. Um,
yeah, it's a great movie. You ever see the sequel? That's pretty bad.
when a stranger like calls again or
Oh,
whatever,
when
calls
a
back.
stranger comes back.
Yeah, I watched that. It was on like
Not that.
Amazon Prime, and
Yeah.
it was not good.
Oh, that was a tough one to get through. See, when a stranger. See, I watched them back to back one time because I remember. That's one of the movies. The first one is one of the movies I used to watch it all the time. It used to be on TV all the time, so I used to watch it all the time. And I was like, you know what? I haven't watched these in a really long time, or watched this in a really long time. So I watched that, and then I watched part two right after. Whew.
Hmm.
The first one is definitely it's a very good movie.
Yeah,
But that second is oof,
yeah.
ouchies.
Um,
Well,
well, so what do you? Yeah,
I give it an 8 out of 10.
I mean, it's good. It's definitely a slow burn, which why I mean, why don't we just get into sort of, I guess, what are some of like your favorite and least favorite slow burn movies?
I think the favorites are all the ones that you mentioned to me earlier when I was like, I don't know, what slow burn movies. Session 9 is my absolute favorite slow burn movie.
It's a great movie.
Tippy tops for me.
It's
I
such a good
really,
movie.
really, really like that movie a lot. Like, if we ever did it, I don't know, it might get the first 10.
It's it's such a creepy movie.
I fucking love that movie so much. I love that movie to death. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the whole like that whole hour, like from 8 to 9 tonight, when I was thinking about more slow burn movies, I was really trying to think of the title of this movie that I thought was super fucking good. But all I know about it is that hitmen get hired to do a job and they end up fucking getting sacrificed to a cult. Like, or they get into this situation and all of a sudden they get into this situation. It's a slow burn the whole movie. Then all of a sudden the end comes and it's fucking like Wicker Man on fucking drugs, like cult shit. Oh, Corey knows it too. Corey, I think Corey's the one who said I should check it out, and it came out a few years ago, but I can't fucking remember the name, dude, and it's making me so mad.
You know, after he watches this, he's gonna tell you, and you're gonna feel so fucking dumb.
Yeah, because he like sometimes he'll watch other movies and then be like, "Hey, remember the guy from this movie?" And I remember him specifically saying, "Oh, the guy from that movie was in it, and the movie that I was talking about," but I cannot fucking remember the name of it, and it's so good, dude. So good, so mad. What oh yeah, we gotta think of something else here. You know what? I mean, you gotta put the Sixth Sense on there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a twist, but like you know, it's one of those things where it builds up to it. Like it slowly unravels until you kind of know what's going on. I mean, no one was ever like, "Oh shit, they're gonna say Bruce Willis is dead."
well, no, but I don't know because there are sort of like, well, yeah, I guess it's a slow burn. It's tough. I feel like it kind of teeters on that line because there are like jump scares sort of in the like kind of sprinkled in there.
I think I think that's his only slow burn movie. I think after that, it was just like, "Hey, I did this twist." Now he like turns it up for the twist. You know what I mean? After Sixth Sense,
The Visit and
this is cool.
Glass is really slow burn.
Ugh.
I mean, and that's not a horror
I
movie,
still
but
haven't
that's
watched it.
slow.
I still haven't watched that movie.
It
It's
is
hard because
slow.
Unbreakable is like one of my favorite. Is like Unbreakable is like a top 10 favorite movie of mine. I
It's
really
good.
Unbreakable. I really, really do. So I don't know if I want to watch Glass, dude.
I mean, Glass is good. It's just, whew, it is slow.
Yeah.
It is just Samuel L. Jackson and James McAvoy and Bruce Willis and Sarah Paulson in different rooms just talking for so
Oh, cool.
long.
You're really selling this.
It's script heavy. It ends really cool, but
That's,
it is script heavy. Um,
I did like Split,
Split's
and
good.
Split fucking smashed it. The end came and I was like, yo, no. I was like, being a person that really, really loves Unbreakable, dude, I was like, oh, come on. That's fucking awesome. I was like, this is so great. Oh, I should watch it. I'll get to it.
It's definitely worth a watch. I would say.
Just start throwing them out there. I mean, my brain is mush right now.
Hereditary is a slow burn, and I love Hereditary.
But I like it. It was good.
Yeah. I mean, Midsummer also, is a slow burn, and I fucking love Midsummer. That's one of my favorite movies just of all time.
Very much, dude.
Dude, the director's cut, I love the director's cut more than the theatrical cut, and that's longer, and I'm just like, oh, it's so good.
It's definitely a beautiful fucking movie, and it's so great given the subject matter because
it's the best breakup movie ever.
the contrast of like the the backdrop of where they're at, and then just people throwing themselves off cliffs. You're
Yeah,
like, oh, this is so beautiful. Oh God. Like, dude,
yeah,
that movie's great. I'm sure we'll get to that. I'm
yeah. Oh
very
yeah.
sure we'll get to that. I do really, really, really like that movie a lot.
The Witch or the Vitch, as some people like to say it. I love that movie.
Dude, that's my favorite one.
Um,
Midsummer's cool, but the Witch is my fucking jam, dude.
I don't know if it would be considered that, but Robert Eggers' other movie, The Lighthouse, which you know is like one of my favorite movies of just all time, and we will definitely talk about that movie at some point
Yes,
because
we
I
will.
can talk for like that'll probably be our longest episode because I'm not gonna shut up about that one.
I do like that movie a lot. That
Um,
was great. Dude, pretty sure I've
yeah.
watched that movie 3 times now. I would definitely watch it with you.
I've watched it so many times.
Yeah, it was good
Um,
shit.
I
So great.
remember Halloween 2019. I went and saw it in the theater, and I was just like, "Oh, this is so perfect." Um, Another one is well, you talked about it earlier actually when you messaged me. Saint Maud is I know you didn't like it, but that's a slow burn, and I think the ending is visually it looks interesting. It is a very slow movie though.
Super slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Um,
ones are there any that don't work for you? Like,
yeah, there's I mean, It Comes at Night is a movie that I'm always back and forth on because it's a movie that I went and I saw in theaters. Um, and I had heard about its mismarketing and everything about how it's not this like crazy sort of zombie end of the world movie like it's sort of being marketed as. It's very much like a character study on like the conflict of trust and everything like that. And so um I
the
watched it.
fucking
What?
A24, the A24 kid here.
Yeah. Um I mean, yeah. A24 is my favorite company. But it's a movie that I do like bounce back and forth on because it's like sometimes I'm like, yeah, this movie's really cool and it's doing something really awesome. And then other times I'm like, this movie needs to do something. Like it is just Joel Egerton being
This was
just
this over
being
two
him.
hours long? Was this over 2 hours long?
No, no.
No, because I feel like, man, it was a real. But that first half was so slow, dude.
Yeah, it is. It's a
Heck,
slow movie.
like I feel like I watched those people do their daily routines for like a week,
Mhm.
and then they're like, "Oh, here comes the end."
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
I mean, it
how.
did, dude. Where it was done right, it was done very right. Like, it's definitely uh like a commentary on trust and fucking paranoia and like it seemed whatever happened, which I don't know if they explained it ever in the movie. Whatever happened, like I don't think anything happened. I think Joel Edgerton was a fucking extra paranoid dude and like kept his
Maybe.
fucking locked down, bro.
Yeah. I mean, that might. I thought there was like a disease or something
But
that.
oh yeah, but I mean, I feel like it might have been that, and that might have pushed him towards that. But
Mhm.
I feel like as a whole, you kind of think that like when those other people show up, you kind of think that like civilization's probably not like where it normally is.
Yeah.
But I also can look at it like, maybe this dude was so paranoid. That's how it made it look. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the ramblings of a person
No,
on
I'm
drugs.
I'm I'm trying to think of another. I'm trying to think of a slow burn that I don't like because it.
I push them so far out of my head when I don't like them that I don't think I could come up with one. Like,
Yeah, like that's. I think that's my thing with slow burns is that if I don't like them, they're just. And it's because they're slow burns. So if you don't like them, it's because usually nothing memorable happens.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Like there are a lot of movies where I'm like, I watch it, it didn't, my attention didn't go away from it, and then I could be like, somebody be like, "Oh, you watched that? How was it?" I'm like, it was there. Didn't love it. Didn't hate it. I watched it. Like,
yeah.
and
Um,
there's ones where I'm like, well, that ending kind of sucks. So then, like, it just immediately is pushed out of my brain. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, the Blair Witch Project is a slow burn.
I mean, yeah, that wasn't bad though.
Yeah. I feel like at some point, since we've now mentioned the Blair Witch Project a handful of times, that we're gonna have to do an episode on it at some point.
Yeah, but then we're gonna have to do an episode on part two because that is also
That's also great.
great that most people, I don't know, a lot of people hate. I feel
I
like
love
it's
it.
got a little bit of status in the last couple of years, but man, when that
Yeah.
came out, everybody hated it, dude.
It Follows is a slow burn.
You know what?
That's like the STD movie.
Can I tell you something?
Hmm.
People really rode that movie. When I
Oh my
saw it,
god.
I think it's a good movie. I think it's decent.
People love that movie. And I'm just like,
I do.
I don't get all this love. It's very overrated in my opinion.
Yes, I went, a lot of hype. I
Hmm.
saw it. I liked it. It wasn't a bad movie by any means, but like slow burn. But like, yo, this is fucking weird, dude. Like,
Yeah.
it was too weird. Fast TVs are chasing you. This
And
is
it
what
can
we're
be anything.
true, but still, that was, it was very creepy.
Yeah.
But it was like too weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
I hate it, but I mean, it didn't work. It didn't work in the way that like slow burns I like work for me.
Yeah. And I mean there's I'm looking up like slow burn horror movies that aren't like
You ever see
just
you ever see the movie with that girl from the main girl from It Follows, and it has Dan Stevens in it, The Guest?
no.
That was really good. I really like that one.
I've never seen I've heard of it though. I've heard good things about it.
It's very good. It's real. It's a good one.
Um
I wouldn't say slow. I would only not say slow burn because I mean it starts out, it starts out like with its foot half on the gas and then progressively pushes forward. Like,
mhm.
but I wouldn't call it a slow burn because you kind of know, you pretty much know what the fuck's going on. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, here they hit you with this at the end, but it's a good one. It just made me think because we were talking about It Follows, and it made me think of that girl that was the main girl in the It Follows movie. I'm
Mhm.
babbling.
I mean there's some like there's like older movies that are slow burns too. Like even like some of like Hitchcock's movies. Um
I love that shit. Love it.
yeah. But like
Rear, Rear Window is a suspense, and it's not really. I don't know.
it's kind of a slow burn.
A lot of his stuff is like
Yeah.
Vertigo and shit like that. Like,
Vertigo is so good though. I love that. That was the first use. That's the first like commercial use of the of the dolly zoom.
yep, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Crazy.
let's let's slip into this. You watch anything this week? I mean, aside from our topic.
Um, not this week, but as I said before we started recording, I watched Dune on HBO Max,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
oh my god, that movie is so good.
Well,
Um,
probably gonna have to check it out now.
oh, it's so good. Um, yeah, there was another movie. I can't even remember it. Um, I rewatched Idle Hands the other day just because I was like, screw it, that's a fun movie.
Yes, dude.
Like, you know, I was just in the mood to have a good time and just laugh. So,
I love that movie. I can't tell you how many times I watched that when it was out, like, because was like 17 or 18 when that was out, so that was like a perfect time for me to be watching that movie like once or twice a week. Like, I really was into that.
I watched the Suspiria remake, talking about slow burns and keeping it on topic. The Suspiria remake from 2018. I rewatched that. I bought that.
I gotta,
Such a good movie.
I gotta get on that.
It's so good. It's again, it's slow, but it's so good.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yes, I can tell you a pile of turd that I watched. Paranormal Activity: Next of Kin.
Oh, it's not good.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised. It's Paranormal Activity.
I mean, think about the Paranormal Activity franchise. It's
I
like
don't like that franchise, so.
the first two or three are all tied together, but they're essentially all the same movie.
Hmm.
I did like the one where they changed the story up and it was with the marked ones. I
Hmm.
actually like that one. That one's actually decent. And then that's the last one I watched, and then I watched this one. Apparently, it was a script for a whole nother movie, and they just turned it into a Paranormal Activity movie. So think about that.
Of
Uh,
course.
all right, so maybe you can tell we're wearing different clothes now. Our last episode cut off, or our this episode cut off before we were able to finish it. So here's the end. I'm pretty sure we were wrapping up towards the end, but
Yeah.
we gave our ratings. Uh, so we're gonna get out of here, and then we're gonna go right into episode 8, which will be just before dawn. All right, it's the film section, episode 7. We'll see you in a couple minutes.